This is Patty Schramm. I'm the parent resource trainer here with Salt Talks. Tonight, we're going to be covering a topic on remote monitoring and assistive technology. We're continuing our series of independent living. We're doing this for a couple weeks, through January and February, just about, what does it mean for independent living? So we had a presentation last night, and then tonight we're hitting on the remote monitoring and assistive technology. So I'm going to turn it over we have Safe and Home tonight, and we have Paula LeMaster and Mark, and I'm not sure how to say your last name, Prohaska?
You got it.
Oh, okay, great. I'm using so I want to thank you both for coming, and I'm going to turn it over to Paula. Do you have, I made you co-host, so you should be able to pull up your presentation.
Let's cross our fingers that this is going to share correctly. Okay.
Gone.
Okay.
All right.
We are good.
Well, thank you for your patience. And I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Paula LeMaster, and I'm our Safe and Home Community Development Rep, which is a new position here with Safe and Home, and it's intended to help educate natural supports individuals about what remote support services are and assistive technology on the Medicaid waiver. Clearly, as parents, family members, and caregivers like you, I have a sister that has an intellectual developmental disability, and educating ourselves and knowing what's available and what's going to work right for our loved ones is a very big struggle for everybody. So the community development role was developed to do the education, make sure we spread the word of this is an option for individuals to develop independence. With that, I will begin the presentation. On this, if you're interested, you can quickly scan the QR code in the corner, and it'll take you to our website for additional information after the presentation. About Safe and Home, the mission is to empower people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to live independently in their own homes and in communities. What is remote support? It's a service, it's not a thing. It is not replacing humans with technology, but it's a trained workforce connecting and supporting people through technology. In the past, remote supports has been a monitoring where it's cameras and just basically big brother into the homes of individuals. Safe and Home's remote support services is not that. We are person-centered and focused on providing supports and services tailored to each individual. This video is completely sums up what Safe and Home is and how it is a positive impact to individuals, family members, and even care providers. It's such a wonderful story, and Emma is one of our clients, and this is the story of Emma, and it's from her mother's perspective.
Emma is a 24-year-old autistic. She has a seizure disorder, and she is what we refer to as an unreliable speaker. So she has some speech. She's developing more and more as she gets older and is more fluent with the letterboard and her communication. She is getting more kind of organic speech, which is actually what she wants to say. But like a lot of autistics, a lot of what she says is not what she wants to say.
Hey Emma. Hello, good morning.
Say good morning. Do you think so? Early diagnosis, it was very intense. There's just no other way around it. It wasn't really very easy to leave the home. We had 2 other children, and she seemed to be in distress a lot of the time. There was a lot of screaming, and she had no reliable way to communicate with us. She was having seizures, and she was very unhappy, very distressed, and so were we. She had never been formally taught in school, and one of her early responses to us was that, I have been listening all of my life. Yeah, it's overwhelming to a parent, right? I remember the first Christmas after we'd started using the letterboard, our speech therapist, Elizabeth asked, what do you want for Christmas? And she said, oh, my parents have given me everything I need or want. What I'd really like is for my mother to read to me. But the minute we knew and she made that request, the journey began, and it was very exciting. And I asked her if she could ever see herself living in her own apartment, and she said, yes, that's absolutely what I want for my life. I want that life. And that was when we had to start thinking of everything differently. Because after someone communicates something to you, we needed to make it happen. We need to deliver on that promise. So we didn't have a lot of this figured out when we moved in, but we kind of made the jump and then we figured it out. And fortunately, early in that journey, we came across our friends at Safe and Home. So if we have someone who does not talk, or is not just going to pick up the phone and call us, we have to have a way to be able to check on her. She has to be able to reach out to us to let us know she doesn't feel good, she's out of milk, she needs groceries, she wants to see us, she's bored, she's lonely, whatever. So we knew that we needed to set up a system to do that. So we knew we needed some type of ring technology at the door. We needed mom or dad or a caregiver to get a ping to know she was safe to open the door. We wanted to know what was going on at night. We now know that when we get our report from Safe and Home, that it is not uncommon for Emma to be up 20 times between 2 and 4 a.m. Doing I don't know what. They're not cameras, which is wonderful. It protects her privacy, but we know she's up and out of her bed doing something in the bedroom. So if she's having more seizures the next day or she's really unregulated, I now know why. The main thing we're using our Safe and Home tablet for now is for check-ins. She is used to hearing the ring, having her go over, touch the tablet, and seeing one of her friends at Safe and Home, greet her and her to get comfortable with them and have a conversation. But what we're hoping for Emma is it's going to be an opportunity for her to reach out if there is an emergency. Emma and her friends should be able to go out for a walk by themselves. They would not need us to always be going with them, that they're learning safety on the streets. But with all of them wearing the device, we know if anything goes wrong, we could always find them with the GPS system. I don't even think I understood what a big deal it is for someone to take care of their own medications. She's mastered this huge task that she needs to do to be able to live independently. So the device goes off with a beeper. She may or may not get up to it right away, but the beeper will go on until she addresses the medication issue. And mom or dad get to continue to do whatever they need to do wherever they are. We cannot fake the joy that she is experiencing in her life. She is living a self-determined life. This is what she wants, and she's doing it, and we could not be prouder. I would encourage families to talk to Safe and Home, do it earlier, and get this technology in place so the parents and the child, when they're ready to transition out, it would already be in place, and they would have that confidence to do it.
So that story is that actually I've seen that story when I seen this position on a job board. To that day, I had not heard of remote support, and that was in August when I started here with Safe and Home, and all it took was click on the QR code, seen that story, looked at it, and it is just an amazing story and an amazing journey to independence that's available to everybody, which is the best part of this whole service. The safe and home mindset is remote support facilitates consistent, reliable, and safe environment that encourages decision-making skills. Our remote support professionals provide positive reinforcement to make decisions and help encourage greater independence and improve daily living. This slide shows how Safe and Home supports the pillars of home and community-based services. The choice is in whether they sign up for the service, how and when they want the support, their daily activities, including activities focused on learning and building skills. Safe and Home believes that increased choices and controls leads to increased safety. It's individuals' rights. Our service supports that, in that it's not intrusive, it's not authoritative, and it's respectful. Our remote support staff it's support on demand. So when the individual wants the support, they call in. And that's when our remote support has interactions with the individual. That, or it's part of the plan is for medication management at 8 a.m. The individual takes medication at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So if that is decided by the team individual that they would like not only the medication device to beep, but would like a visual confirmation of the medication being consumed at 8 a.m., our remote support calls on the tablet, make sure that Chris is visually taking the medication. And in addition to that, every interaction with our remote support professional is documented. So it's also a documentation for medication and any of the documents that's needed for state level support, or just your information to take to the next doctor appointment. Community integration, the technology solutions for connecting with the staff. The in-person device that you see Emma wearing, it is actually a two-way communication geo-tracker, where if she's out taking a walk and is disoriented, she can press the in-person, and it is either predetermined, is it going to go to mom as natural support, or is it going to go to a remote support? And we can instantly locate where she's at and then give directions as to, hey, Emma, do you need support? Do you want to have somebody have an Uber called, or just give the directions so she is familiar where she's at and gets to the destination. And the technology also is a wraparound service where we connect the individual and all the services that are supporting the individual, so that we're all working together as a team. And the pillar of independence, it's the engagement, being able to make decisions as to what do I want to eat this evening? It doesn't have to be a set schedule that is put in place by natural supports, or even living in a home with other individuals. It's a choice, and building choices build your independence. And then as far for Safe and Home, we are the human-to-human connection. And that being said, every staff member with the remote support services end is trained. They're trained in the ACT training. They're trained with the behavior management plan. They're trained with any state level trainings that the direct support in-home would be trained as. Our remote support team is also trained in everything, so that it is a supportive, connected communication. It's not directive. They're not on the phone giving orders to the individual. It is more a communication back and forth, and building that connection and networking with each other, so that they're forming relationships, so that it is a known face and a known, hey, this is the time I take my medicine. I'm not going to be told what to do. It's being there as a support for the activity. And then this is our Safe and Home Solutions, which is how we can support each of the individuals. In Mark, are you able to join this part of the conversation?
I sure am, Paula. So thanks for having me, everyone. I appreciate you allowing me to come and speak with Paula this evening. And when we talk about this slide and we talk about Safe and Home, just want to give you some ideas of some of the different areas. I know Paula's talked on it a little bit already. The video showed some great examples of how Emma's being supported in the community. And so just want to dig a little bit deeper on some different areas of how we can help support individuals. And a little background on myself, I work for Safe and Home in Southern Ohio, kind of from Cincinnati on east. And recently I've also transitioned to help out in West and Southwest Ohio. So kind of all over the place, and definitely look forward to working with some of you and maybe helping a loved one of yours. So in regards to this slide, again, some of the different areas that I've personally been able to work with families and get to see how these supports come into play and help individuals. Medication management, you saw that with the Emma video. Paula's talked a little bit about it. We do have, from a technology perspective, a variety of different med dispensers that can be utilized to help individuals keep track of meds and take them in a timely fashion. And we can couple that with remote supports. And again, remote supports is trained. We're not here to tell people to take medicine. We're not here to tell people what to do. If anything, what we're going to do is just when we call and have a check-in time about medicines, that conversation might go something like, hey, have you taken your meds today? Oh, you haven't? Okay, remember when you do, it usually works out well with having a lot of water and eating some food. That'll make you feel good. And so just providing that positive reinforcement, we found through doing that, people are more apt to make the choice to take their meds and feel self-empowered to do it. And so it works out really well. Overnight supports is a large area in which we're helping people currently in the state of Ohio, and that's really going to grow quite extensively. We feel over the next few months with the whole on-site on-call and some of those things changing. And obviously there's a staff shortage out there that we're all aware of. And so if we can work together with providers to, maybe help with those on-site on-call hours so that they can utilize staff for other parts of the day to take people out in the community, do other things, more enjoyable things. We want to be a part of that. And so that's an area that we're helping quite a few people with check-ins, with reminders, with just being there if somebody were to need any sort of support or just has a question, or maybe hears a noise outside and gets scared. At the push of a button, they'd be able to reach out to us at Safe and Home and be able to talk through those situations. And if need be, we can always, get additional support through the paid backup and that sort of thing, or natural support. So a very cool area that we've helped a lot of people with. Visitor safety, I know that was in the poll earlier, if I remember correctly. That was definitely, I think a few of you that are on the call today are a little concerned maybe about a loved one moving out and letting strangers into a home, that sort of thing. A quick little story, I helped someone in Scioto County recently, very similar, moved into their own apartment. They had been taken advantage of in the past. And so we're looking for a way to see who was at their door and get assistance if need be. So we were able to set up that doorbell type of camera system. They were provided a tablet. So when the doorbell rang, they were able to see who was at their door. And if they knew who they were, they'd let them in, obviously. If there was some question in the individual's mind of who is this person, I don't know, they just reach out to us at Safe and Home. We're able to access that same video feed, and we're able to see who's at the door. We can even interact with that person at the door and ask them questions and determine what's going on. And so if it's a UPS delivery and they drop off a package, and we can help say thank you and then let the individual know, okay, they just dropped off a package. We'll stay with you on the call if you want to get that package now. And so really kind of helping throughout that. And also we can couple with it with some calls and check-ins throughout the day and reminding them, okay, if somebody comes to the door and you don't know who they are, remember to give us a holler and we can help you out with that. So we've been able to help that individual out in their apartment. They feel safe, and you know, it's really worked out well. So very cool. I think we have a question. Would we initiate, the question is, would we initiate a call to the police if needed? So yes, we would. And so prior to any of these supports being put in place, great question. We work with the SSA of the individual to put in place certain protocols and a care plan so that we get to know the individual. We have access to the ISP before putting on any sort of supports. And so we get to know the individual, and then we also develop a care plan. So if something were to happen, if it's a visitor that shouldn't be coming over, what's our protocol? Our protocol might be to reach out to a paid backup. It may be to reach out to a guardian. Obviously, if we feel that there's any sort of safety or health or anything at risk issues, we're going to call the local police and you know, medical response if necessary, that sort of thing. So great question. But yes, we would contact those individuals if needed. You know, we now serve over 1,000 individuals in 7 different states from a safe and home perspective. We have very few of the actual emergency type of calls come in, but they do happen. And so we make sure that prior to any supports really getting started, we know how we want to handle those, and we have the proper phone numbers to get in touch with police, medical, etc. But great question. And then I think as we move around the kind of the circle picture here, we have elopement. Talked a little bit about that, I think, already. We can help in terms of some different setups. Again, everybody's so different in their needs and what it looks like and what does wandering look like. And so really it's that consultation, which I'll talk a little bit here in a little bit more about, is getting to know the individual, their needs, the family's needs, so that we can really help provide a solution that would work best. And so that might be door sensors to the outside doors of the house, letting individuals know, caretakers know that the door is open, and that, you know, there might be some wandering going on. Somebody might be leaving the house, somebody might be coming into the house, that sort of thing. And we can couple that with remote supports as well. And we do have devices that can be worn or put in a pocket that can actually have the geolocation type of tracking that I think Emma had the device on, and Paula's spoken about it a little bit. So we do have different devices, different solutions. And again, those look a little bit differently for everybody. Kitchen safety, I think that was also mentioned in the poll earlier. So kitchen safety is a huge one. It's a huge one for all of us, right? A lot of things can happen in the kitchen. There's hot things, there's sharp things, there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. I know there is in my kitchen. So in that regard, we do have some different technologies that can be put in place. And again, remote supports can help with different parts of this. I give one example is an automatic stove shut off. And so if somebody turns on their stove, they're cooking, that's great. But it's left on for, it can be preset for different times, but if it doesn't detect movement, let's say after 10 minutes, it'll automatically shut itself off. And so you can couple that type of device with remote support. You get alerted to a stove being left on. So there's quite a few different things that we can help out within the kitchen area as well. Seizure management, again, I think that's been discussed a little bit today, but we do have different technology that can help, whether it's overnight seizure detection pads that can be put on the bed, help alert others in the house that a potential seizure has taken place. Also, there are some devices that could be worn that not only can alert natural supports or paid supports that a potential seizure has taken place, but it also keeps a record, a medical record of seizure activity, which has been really beneficial for people. So we could provide reports on a monthly basis if need be to take to the doctor and show how seizures have been under control or maybe not under control, and get to see some patterns of what's going on. Sometimes with seizure management as well, we kind of look at it from other perspectives. If we're providing remote supports, you know, some seizures may be brought on from a lack of hydration. And so when it comes to remote supports, you know, we're reminding to drink water and those sort of things. I think there might have been a question in the chat, so I'm gonna try to track
Mark,
it.
the question was, is there anything in place for natural disasters for power outages?
Power outages. Just trying to think off the top of my head. So natural disasters, some of the technology that we utilize runs off of cell service. So that small MPERS device, the name just changed to a geocom. So you might hear me say a couple different things, runs off of cell service. If there was still cell service going on, they would be able to reach out to us through that. Our technology is also, as it's working throughout the day, it does go through checks throughout the day to ensure that it's still working. And if it's not, if something's offline, we're able to identify that and then help, get the actual technology and the communication devices back up and running. And so I hope that kind of answers the question. It might not, but, with natural disasters, power outages, that sort of thing, if we're alerted to anything going on, our remote support staff is going to stay with somebody. They're going to help them, one, get to a safe place. So if they have their small device, their mobile device, we're going to talk through that with them. If they're talking through us, on a tablet, obviously, if there's a power outage, tablets, some of those things may not be working at that time. And so again, I think, I don't know how to answer that question the best, but I hope I've answered it, that we do check our equipment. So, we understand even not natural disasters, just regular things happen that cause things to go offline. But great question. But again, I think what we're trying to do from a remote support standpoint, if we're able to communicate still with the individual, we're going to try to keep them calm. We're going to try to alert authorities. We're going to do all those things to try to ensure the person's safety as they get through, and their anxiety. I mean, obviously those type of things can really bring on a lot of anxiety things. So we want to be able to help people with that. And our staff are trained really to be very helpful in stressful situations. So hopefully answered that. Good question. So we continue here a little bit. We have emotional regulation. Again, I think I spoke to that just now a little bit in regards to staff. As we found during COVID, with Safe and Home, I don't want to say we were surprised, but I think what we found over the last, I can't believe I'm going to say almost 2 years now, is a lot of individuals have reached out to Safe and Home, whether it be on the tablet or their mobile device, just because they've been isolated and they haven't had a lot of people to talk to. They haven't been able to get out, and whether it's go to work or go have fun, or, things are closed down, that sort of thing. So we found that there's been a lot more of calls just really to say hello, to know that somebody's there, to say hi, to let them know what they've been doing all day, and for us to be a friendly voice there that they know will be there for them. And so we've got a lot of those type of calls going on. And, as COVID continues, I think we'll continue to see people that are reaching out to be able to talk with somebody. And so we're able to help support, from an emotional standpoint. Youth transition is a large area, I think, that will be even more so utilized from a remote support and assistive tech standpoint moving forward. For those individuals who maybe are in high school or in college or moving out onto their own pretty soon. I think we can all attest the younger individuals, younger than myself, are more in tune with technology than ever before. And they're using it at a younger and younger age. And so when we talk about the technologies that we offer, we're finding if we're able to get individuals connected to remote supports and technology at a younger age, it's just kind of a natural progression as they move out into their own apartment. They've already utilized some of these pieces of technology. They're already connecting with us from a remote support standpoint, and it really helps with that transition to their own apartment or to an apartment with a friend, whatever it might be. So we're seeing, starting individuals off earlier and earlier in life has really been beneficial. And I think we have a question.
There is a question mark, but I did want to point out that with youth transitioning and transitioning in general, independence looks differently for everybody. It could be the youth transition to independence is building that safety net for the first few times of I'm leaving my child at home alone for independence and building their self-reliance. And then you gradually go. The independence level is based on each individual's, what their needs are and what their goals are and their abilities. So if, it looks different for each individual, the youth transition is more geared towards the whole building the independence, being able to be at home alone, having an overnight or a weekend alone, so parents can go away on a little getaway trip and not needing the invasiveness of a direct support beside you. It's the security of knowing that the service is there and it's a service on demand. So if you leave your child at home and you're going to the grocery store or going away for the weekend, you know that there is somebody there to help provide support if needed, and know that they're safe, with visitor safety, with knowing that they're taking their medications, knowing if they're at home or away from home. So with the geo tracker, you will know if your child's still at home, or have they decided to go get an ice cream cone down the street. We know we can track from there as far as does the remote support need to, hey, just check in. Hey, Chris, notice that you just left your house. Do you need any help? Are you doing okay? Do you want to check in when you get back home? So it's all based on developing independence at the rate of what each individual needs. And then Mark, the question was, can you give a specific example with youth transition? Do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah. So no, definitely. So, and thank you for the question. I recently worked with a family with a young adult in the house, and they were looking at different ways for them to grow in their independence while the individual was still living with them, and to build responsibility and those sort of things. So with them, taking medicines was a big thing 3 times a day. And so what we were able to do, we were able to incorporate the medicine dispenser with remote supports with 3 different check-in times. And with that, the parents didn't have to as often, and again, there's a transition that takes place as well, but it's been pretty successful because the individual is going to be moving out here in the next few months on their own, and the family wanted, to know that that their son was going to be able to handle taking their own meds with the help of some helpful reminders, a friend from Safe and Home, remote support wise, and so they're using that in their current home right now. And as soon as he moves into his own apartment, the medicine dispenser, remote supports obviously will come with him, and that'll continue. Now, obviously, at some point, he may not even need remote supports to help with that medicine reminders and check-ins, that sort of thing. But that's where we've seen a lot of this type of things going on, where starting to slowly integrate different pieces of technology coupled with remote support while someone is still in the home with their loved ones, and they're trying to learn some different, again, some responsibility, some independence, and that sort of thing. And like Paula said, maybe it's for parents to be able to leave for the evening and go out on date night and know that, their son or daughter is there and they have remote supports, and at the push of a button, instead of maybe calling them, they're calling remote supports who can assist with many things. And then again, start to develop that independence while they're still at home, and then prepare them for their own place at some point. So yes, great question. Let's see. Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. And let's see, what do we got here? And did I touch on? And then the last area there, after school work support, I think another growing area that we'll see more and more in the future. I was just on a meeting with Stacy Collins from the state 2 days ago, and we talked a lot about work, and my background is with employment supports to help individuals as a job coach and job developer in the past. And so we were able to have a great conversation. And so we really do see technology. And I think, unfortunately, I think Safe and Home, the name is almost a misnomer of sorts, because a lot of these technologies, remote supports, can actually be, as we talked about, mobile. And so you can utilize them on the job. And so we do have some individuals utilizing their GeoComm device on the job. One example, an individual who has anxiety has his GeoComm with them when he has maybe a bad experience with a customer, that sort of thing. Pushes the button, he can talk with somebody from a remote support standpoint who kind of talks them through that. Okay, when this happens, when we're feeling anxious, we want to let our boss know, right, that you might need to take a breather. They take a breather, we kind of talk them through that situation, and then they're able to go back to work. And so that has really been cool to hear how that is is going and where that will progress, I think is exciting. You know, I know, again, working for an employment support company, we had individuals who had a job coach for long-term follow along for years. And they were there just in case this happens, just in case this happens. Well, that's not ultimate independence, obviously. I mean, all of us go to work and we don't have people typically with us if something bad might happen. But so for some of those individuals, would remote supports may be beneficial in those sort of situations of, you know, my ride hasn't arrived yet. You know, I'm standing outside, you know, I need some help, that sort of thing. I'm feeling anxiety on the job. So we're able to help out with a lot of those type of situations. And it's been really cool and exciting to see. And it'll be exciting to see where it goes really in the future. Okay, I think we're heading to the next slide. Next slide here. So again, the individual's at the heart of everything, right? They're in the center. This is what it's really all about, is that individual, what their needs are, what are their goals, what are their desires. So they're there in the middle. And then a lot of these things we'll kind of touch base. We've already talked a little bit about the upper left corner. You kind of get an idea of what that tablet looks like. Emma was using her tablet, but the individual gets to see the safe and home representative. Safe and home representative gets to see the individual as they're having their conversation. The bottom left, you can get an idea of some of the sensor technology we use. Paula mentioned earlier, we're not a surveillance company. We're not a security company. We're not watching cameras. That's creepy. It's not independence. And we just can't afford to pay people to watch cameras all day long. So we utilize sensor technology to help us indicate whether or not we should, if there is a camera, because some people do have cameras, that can help benefit them if they're a fall risk and that sort of thing. But we rely on sensors to tell our remote support staff and help paint a picture of what's going on or not going on in a residence to help alert us if we need to turn a camera on. And so that's what we're showing in the bottom left. I'll stop because I think a question popped through. Not sure, I have to get to it. Where are we?
Sorry, here, I've struggled with my mute button, Mark. The question is it could help with a parent who might be having anxiety about their son or daughter working because they have seizure disorder.
Yes, no, I think that's a great statement. I think a lot, I think some words that come to mind are what I've heard from some family members is peace of mind, right? Obviously, the individual's at the heart of everything. Well, there's obviously a loving family, there's guardians, there's others that are caring for the individual, who this also helps provide peace of mind. And so I think what you just said there really speaks to that in many regards. So yes, thank you for saying that. In the upper right-hand corner, this is kind of the boring part, but it's also an exciting part in many regards. We're able to provide a lot of information that can be given to, again, guardians, loved ones, the individual, SSA, whoever might need some of that information for medical type of history, from whether it's seizure detection or if it's activity. Again, I point back to the Emma video. It kind of talked her mom found out that she was up over 20 times during the evening. And I'm guessing they've been working on why is that? And they're trying, and that then leads them to other types of conversations and other types of, you know, what's going on in the evening. And, you know, that might be shown for other people who are tired at work or tired at school in the middle of the afternoon. Well, we found out they're up 15 times and they're not really sleeping. So then we can try to help identify what's causing those issues. And so,
Mark, there's a question, but I also wanted to point out also with these reports, because we are part of the care team, these reports can be shared with the team. They can be shared with the behavior therapist, with the rec therapist, with anybody that you, as the natural support or the individual would like to share this information with. So that better helps the team as a whole be there as a big support unit as one for your child. The question was, can you tell us about your employees and their training?
Yeah, and so our remote support employees are trained just like any other DSP within the state of Ohio. So they go through all their training, certification. Again, I think the one training that's really specific to help individuals when it comes to conversations they're having is that ACT training that was mentioned earlier. And so again, it's they're learning how to communicate with individuals. And again, we all communicate differently, right? There's some individuals are nonverbal, all of us just talk differently. And so it's getting to know the individual as well. And it's also that care plan that gets put together prior to supports taking place. But really, again, I think when it comes to that ACT training, it's a lot more about listening, asking questions, and it delves more into that side of things as opposed to, did you do this yet? When are you going to do that? And that's not how we want to help individuals. Instead, it's, hey, how are things going today? We noticed earlier, you were out at work. How did that go? And so those start conversations, and then naturally things pop up. Not for everybody, but again, the listen first skills are really developed as well during those trainings. So great question. I think there was also maybe another question that came in at the same time. Let me see if I can scroll up. Let's see. Okay, so if an individual has forgot to carry their device with them, leave it in a car at home, what would you do in that case? So some of the technology, for example, off the top of my head, the geolocation wristband, if it's taken off, if the individual takes it off, which is totally fine, maybe they're not wearing it when they go to bed, that sort of thing, but it actually alerts remote support staff that device has been removed. And so we can have that, and then that can spur on other conversations or us to remind them. We also try to incorporate, reminders for individuals. So if we know their schedule, that they're leaving the house for their day program at 11 each day, maybe we would schedule a call at 10:30 as a reminder. Okay, so you're going, awesome. Where you guys, let's have a conversation. Where are you going? What are you doing? What's the exciting stuff on the agenda? And then it's also, okay, it's cold outside, so you probably want to wear a hat and gloves. And also, if you want to bring your geocom, that's probably great in case you need something. It'll connect you with either us or your loved ones. So we try to incorporate a lot of those reminders. If somebody does leave a device and, it just happens, unfortunately, in some of those cases, I'm trying to think, we just may not be able to help for that period of time. If we do have a scheduled call and they don't answer, what we, again, written into protocols prior might be, if somebody doesn't answer, that's for us to reach out to a natural support or a paid backup to let them know, hey, we've tried 3 times in the last half hour to get a hold of John, and they haven't responded. So, there's different protocols we can have in place as well there that others might be able to help the individual out if need be. And I think there might be another question that came.
Was from Angela. Are there specific employees assigned to an individual, 1 or 2 of them or more?
Yeah, great question. So typically, and so again, everybody's different, right? So some individuals might have 2 hours a day of remote support. Some individuals, I've worked with an individual who has remote supports 21 hours out of the day. And so that's quite extensive. So the more hours a day that someone has remote supports, they're going to be assigned more remote support staff to help them, just because we don't have individuals working more than 8-hour shifts. So if it's 21 hours a day, they're going to probably have 3 or 4 or 5 individuals helping them in a weekly fashion. The smaller number of hours, we try to condense that to 1 or 2 individuals if possible, so that they're really developing those relationships with somebody and they're getting to know somebody's face and who they are and what they're all about. So great question. And it really depends, to answer that question, it depends on how many hours are we supporting them in a week and at what times during the day. If we're supporting somebody at 8 a.m. in the morning till 11 a.m. and then we're also supporting at 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., which happens, those could be different staffs right there, just because of staffing schedules and people not, being able to work, too long of hours. But we tried our best to try to, consolidate that as much as possible. So yeah, great questions. Let's see here. And then I think the last, just on this page, really, assistive technologies. We've talked a little bit about this. You get a few pictures over here of some of the devices. And again, keep in mind, we only have a short period of time here today, and Paula, myself, others at Safe and Home are here. If you have questions that come to the surface after this, don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We have over 60 different right around 60 different technologies in this point in time. So, and that will change, that will evolve. It will probably go up as different technologies come in place and can help people in different ways. So this just shows a very small snippet of some of the things that we can actually offer. So just keep in mind, if you have questions after today or thoughts like, ooh, what about this? What about that? Just reach out to us. I know we'll have our information at the end of this, and we'll obviously be in touch, and Paula will be in touch with you guys as an organization moving forward, excuse me. So we can definitely assist with questions and all that good stuff moving forward. But again, just a small little sample size of some of the things that we offer. I do want to bring up, and this slide, I guess, will kind of lead into it. I know one of the other poll concerns, I maybe not phrasing that the right way, but was somebody maybe not locking their door. And so we do have a variety of different door locks as well that can be incorporated in a home setting, an apartment setting. And some of those are auto locking, some are biometric, utilizing a fingerprint. So for people that might lose a key, there's different options for that. And again, there's locks that could be set to, you close the door and 90 seconds later it's locking itself. There's combination keypads. So there's a variety of different ones that we can look at based on the individual's needs. So I think that speaks to this house right here. So this picture is just showing that these type of supports, the technology can be utilized pretty much anywhere in the home, including the front door, like we just talked about. And, again, maybe a doorbell camera in that area. When we talk about bathroom settings, bathrooms are oftentimes could be a dangerous place for people as well, right? There's water, there's the potential for a fall. So I've worked with individuals that are fall risks. And when it comes to like a bathroom setting, we can incorporate motion sensors. So motion sensors are used quite often throughout a home for somebody that is a fall risk. And so we cannot detect falls per se, but we can mitigate how long somebody is potentially on the ground if they have fallen. And so a good example, I hope I'm not running too long on time. I know I ramble here sometimes when I get excited, so I apologize, but I just helped an individual down in Lawrence County with a system. The individual sleeps on a couch in his living room, and what would happen though, about once a week, he would fall off that couch. He didn't injure himself. The couch itself, because I was in the apartment, really kind of slopes itself right to the ground, but he would roll off the couch and he wouldn't be able to get back on the couch by himself. And so he'd be there for about sometimes 12, 14 hours until he had staff at noon to 8 every day. And so we wanted to help in regards to that. So we were able to set up a system where we had a bed sensor pad put under the couch cushion. And then our remote supports were in place. So if the sensor off of that couch cushion went off, just at what that basically tells remote supports, okay, that there was nobody on the couch any longer. We then have a motion sensor tied with that in the room. And so, okay, we should then in theory see motion throughout the house if somebody's gotten off the couch to go get a drink of water or eat or whatever it might be. And so we couple those things together. And then in this case, we do have a camera in the individual's apartment as well. Again, we're not watching that camera for anything. The only time we're turning that camera on is if we're alerted through those sensors. So in this gentleman's case, if his couch sensor goes off, showing that he's left the couch, and then we set protocols. I think for his case, I want to say it was 10 minutes without any sort of movement within the room. We would then turn on the camera to visually see what was going on within the apartment. If he's on the floor, hopefully that doesn't happen often, but for him it does happen. And so we would then be able to communicate through, you can talk through the camera to the individual. So we would ask him questions, are you okay? Assess, how he is. This gentleman has a staff member that lives in the same apartment building, so it works out really well. We then contact the paid backup, who is the staff that lives in the same apartment complex. They then take over, helping him get back on his couch, make sure he's okay, and then we resume services. So that's just I just wanted to share that story because I think it's really, when I was able to work with the individual and see it all come together, and it's helping him to this day, really, really cool that, he's not having to be on the floor for 10, 12 hours at a time and not able to move. And so we're able to help with his team, right? So this is a team effort, remote supports working with other supports to ensure safety and independence. So again, this home really talks to the point. We can generally help in many different areas: bathrooms, kitchens, living rooms, and again, outside the home in some instances as well. And let's see, we have a question. Let's see, it just popped off. Sorry, let me check it out.
It says, sorry if I missed it, but you mentioned geo. Does it reference a specific device, or what does that reference?
Okay, and I think what you guys had heard, and I probably didn't pronunciate too well. I'm going to show it on my screen. Actually, I have one here with me, and I think what you're referencing to, I hope so, is the device here. This is a very small device. It's a GeoComm device. So I hope I'm answering the question correctly, but I'm pretty sure that's probably what I was really quickly talking about. This is what Emma had. If you guys noticed in that video earlier, she wore it around her neck. It could also be put in a pocket. This is the mobile device that can connect with remote supports at a push of a button, or can connect with guardians or other natural supports. It does a call tree, so up to 7 people's phone numbers can be put in it. It could also be called by a natural support, and so it does have a phone number tied into it. The individual doesn't have to do anything to answer. It just automatically hears the individual's voice on the other end, and it does have that geolocation capability. So if somebody does get lost, or trying to help them get home, we can identify where they're at exactly. So I hope that answered the question. I think I was saying GeoComm. Okay, cool. Thank you, Patty. Yep. So I got lucky there. So that is the GeoComm device. Paula referred to it earlier as the MPERS. It recently changed names, so hopefully.
Sorry.
No, this
Very new.
Yeah, no. So this stuff is really just, as things change, and stuff is changing very, very quickly around here as well. So just a slight change in name, same device, in essence. This slide right here, just to talk, how do we get from the point of somebody maybe needing or having questions or needing some support to them getting started? And that's what this slide really speaks to. So again, it really starts with a consultation. How do we get to a consultation? Well, I think we have some family members and we have some providers, that sort of thing. Really, it starts with reaching out to the SSA. You can also reach out to us at Safe and Home and say, you know what, I really want to talk, my son, John, could really benefit, or my daughter, Jen, could really benefit from this. Can we have a conversation? We'll then schedule a consultation. We can do those in person. I love in-person consultations just because you really get to see the residents and what's truly all around. Or we can do Zoom, just like we're doing today. I totally understand that we're still within this craziness of COVID. And so, we want to be really respectful of people's health. And I can speak for all of us at Safe and Home. We are vaccinated. So, from that standpoint, we'll follow all guidelines. We'll wear masks and safely be able to come to somebody's home. But we can also do these things virtually as well to have that meeting. And those usually last about an hour. For me, who likes to talk, maybe a little bit longer. I should be listening more than talking, but really trying to gather as much great information as we can about the individual, about the family, the needs, the goals, the desires, and then we can propose some different solutions. And so within a day's time, we'll write up everything we talk about in that meeting, from the different technology to the remote support hours to different pricing that is involved. We then send that to the SSA for them to review with guardians, with the care team, with the board, because the board, financially needs to approve these things. Once it's approved, we get word from the board that the proposal has been approved, or we need to make some changes. And then after that, we would work with whoever the point of contact is, whether that's a guardian, the provider, staff, to schedule installation and training. And then our staff comes out, helps install all the devices, the technology, talks about it with the individual and the family and the provider, and shows how it works, how to, if something's not working, how to correct that, and really trains up how to utilize. I can tell you all the technology we're utilizing is very simple. We also understand that everybody's different in how they learn how to use things. So we try to keep that in mind as well. But everything that we're really utilizing is a push of a button, simple type of technology, but we'll definitely go through how that all works and how it looks and feels when we do that installation. And then from there, we work with really, working with the SSA and the team to put together that care plan so that our client service team, who's going to be providing that remote support, gets to know the individual, and then also set the protocols. If this were to happen, this is how we're going to help. And I think there's a question. I see some hands being raised. I see some chat box action. So let me see. I don't know if Paula, if you've already got it or not.
Yes, I have it up. I actually sent a message to everyone just reiterating that Safe and Home is person-centered. So the individual is a participant in the consultation as well. And then Patty added, so are these services mostly covered by waivers or some self-funded?
Yeah, great question. And then, so we'll answer Patty's question. And then I think Kathy has a question as well. So we'll get to that then next.
Oh.
But in terms of the pricing, Kathy just has her hand up, it looks like. So that's where I saw that. In terms of pricing, the majority of the individuals we work with, all this is typically covered under the waivers. So IO level 1 self, we understand that there's some changes going to be occurring probably this year with level 1s and self waivers possibly being combined to some respect. Not sure how that's going to totally look, but yes, waivers are covering the assistive tech and the remote supports at this time. We do have some individuals who aren't on waivers, and they'll do self-pay, private pay, and then also some county boards. I can't speak for county boards, but I can say there are some county boards that do have additional funding set aside to help with some of these costs if somebody doesn't have a waiver, or maybe their waiver wouldn't, sometimes a level 1 might not be able to cover the full remote support hours. So they might be able to utilize some county funding. So yes, good questions. And I think Kathy maybe has a question.
Yeah, I do, because I want to go back to when you were talking about work support, and I noticed that in one of the, on your website, one of the individuals said something about how nice it was that other people don't have job coaches, and this helped with that. So my question is kind of twofold. Do people, have you used this for specific work support for an individual at work? And do you ever work with the voc rehab side of the house? In other words, OOD in Ohio, I know you serve different states, so every state it's called something differently. Or is this all strictly with the Developmental Disability Agency side of the house?
Yeah, great questions. And typically we haven't had, unfortunately, we haven't had a whole lot of communication with OOD at this time. I know, again, I was just in a meeting with Stacy Collins where I think they want to encourage those type of discussions to happen even more so. Because again, I think we're really at the beginning stages of this in the workplace type of environment. We do have a few people that currently, and when I say utilizing it in the workplace, they're bringing their geocom with them, and how they're using that is that example. Specific one is what I gave earlier. Is we do have individuals that have, usually it's that anxiety. It could be simple, very simple tasks as well. So we're not job coaches per se, where we can really delve into, and I think this is where your question was going, into the specific job tasks, if it's intricate or involves a lot of different layers. So we're not able to really get into that at this point. I know that what we're trying to do, so if I was in as an account manager, for Southern Ohio, and I'm working with somebody and they say to me, I work 6 hours a day, I don't know, let's say at Bank One or whatever, some of my questions would be, okay, so how does that look for you? And what do you do at Bank One? And is there any supports that you would need on the job? And so, they might tell me a variety of things. They might say, oh, I had a job coach, and, after so many months, they kind of left me, and I'm now on my own doing things. But I do have some times where I would love to be able to talk through a situation, that sort of thing. So in that type of situation, again, because I'm familiar with OOD a little bit, I would probably suggest some different things, and maybe even have a conversation if there's still an OOD representative in place, or at least talk through with the SSA, to see and brainstorm how can we help the individual on the job. I'm hopeful. Now, again, this is pie in the sky. This is nothing from the state, that whether it's a year or 2 years down the road, that some of these things are being more written into code and things where it can really tie directly into OOD. But definitely, I think where there's some individuals that are on that long-term follow along right now and aren't experiencing really many issues on the job, I think we can automatically help some of those individuals right now with certain technology. Like
So
what you-
thank you. And that's what I was thinking is for that long-term type support. And it could just be something that simple. Whereas a job coach, they can't find people to do that, plus people that really know what's going on, where it's more of a support type thing. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. I've actually, in my role here, I've gone back to Arc Industries as a fairly large employment provider in the Franklin County area. I actually worked for them in the past, so had a meeting with them to kind of discuss these same things. I think what we're finding is even the employment support agencies really don't even know what's out there. And so part of our jobs, Paula's, mine, is really just like we're doing tonight, is helping to educate providers and other stakeholders. So, when I went there, I just, shared with them, here's one avenue. You have over 400 people on long-term follow along. If you're looking at that shrinking to maybe 200, because there are some people with long-term follow along that, okay, that's probably something that may be necessary, but there's probably a decent percentage that really don't need to have a job coach with them on a weekly basis, that sort of thing. And so really we had conversations, started that off, and I think we're just going to continue to have more of these conversations with employment providers so that they know that there's these type of supports. I'd like to have, some direct communication with OOD. So I'm hoping, I can get in front of some of the OOD counselors in the future, and we can kind of share again some of these easier ways to kind of dip our toes in the water of remote supports on the job and have those conversations. And having that conversation with Stacy just a few days ago, I think will lead to some of those things happening more and more in the future. So great questions.
Mark, I'd like to add on this for on the job. I know a few of our clients also use the remote supports as a standby, and it helps promote the individual to develop their self-advocate for themselves. Hey, I'm on the job and I see Mary and Jane over here, they're able to do this part of the job. I would love to learn how to do this, but I don't know how to ask. I don't know how to advocate for myself. So on that aspect, we are there to support that part of it, as well as, after work. How often are individuals at risk for being taken advantage of? We do have a client that, specifically said, I was afraid of being home alone because I've been taken advantage of so much in my past, that this remote supports has allowed me not only to live independently, but be able to go to my job and know that from the time I leave my home while I'm working and then continuing to return home, I know that I have the support there, that if I feel uncomfortable or if I feel somebody is trying to take advantage of me, it's instant communication with somebody, not only for safety, but to self-advocate as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I think with this particular slide, thank you, Paula, and thank you everyone for the questions. And again, yeah, I think I've talked a little bit, just kind of that process is fairly seamless. I'll let Paula kind of take over. I've rambled long enough here, so let you kind of finish things up, Paula, and I know there may be some more questions coming in. And I don't know if Paula, if you're talking, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just rambling away. Okay. I was saying that I cannot see raised hands on the screen that I'm on. So if anybody has their hand raised, please, Mark, if you could point that out. So I'm not just talking on top of people. I did want to go back to the fact that I am the community development representative, and my main goal is speaking with the individuals in advocacy groups, self-advocate groups, family support groups. So if anybody feels like this is information that you would love to bring into any group that you are with, or even if it's a couple of parents that you would love to have this information shared with to educate the parent and the individual, please do not hesitate. Reach out to me. I would be happy and love to be able to share the knowledge of remote supports with everybody. And then on this page, it has my contact information and Mark's as well. Are there additional questions, or does anybody have a specific example that you have, like your child has a specific need for independence that we could discuss? Or any other questions?
Everybody's quiet. I'll go ahead and close the recording at this point. So then maybe we can open it up to some discussion as well. I want to thank Paula and Mark that was a wonderful presentation on remote monitoring and the assisted technology. And we had a lot of great questions flowing. So let me go ahead and close the recording at this moment, and she'll come on and say it's closing.